What's up, you guys? My name is Miguel, fellow Xray Tech Peep here, giving you knowledge, Xray knowledge. So today we're covering what it's like from transitioning from being an actual student to a tech, because I know as a student you're like, okay, I know how to position, I know how to do X-rays. Certain facilities let you do post processing, lets you do some computer stuff, pick up the phone, do like simple stuff like that. So I know me as a student, being my last year, or even once I took my registry and I was ready to apply, in my mind I was like, okay, I already know how to do my job, kind of. What is the big difference between transitioning from being from student to a tech? So first off, like, there's so much, like, you'll have to do all the post processing things, review the image, because once again, it's your license on the line. Make sure your images are pretty good. They don't have to be perfect, but as long as they're pretty good, make sure everything's on point, because I know sometimes as a student, like, as long as all the anatomy's there, you're like, okay, it's good. But as a tech, you have to, like, okay, the anatomy's good, what about the technique? Is the technique good? And then you're like, okay, is the oblique good? Is it, like, you gotta pinpoint down on the little things, so you can keep your job, so you don't get, you don't piss off a doctor, you don't piss off a rad, that your pictures aren't good, or you miss something like that. That's one thing that will be more important. And also, since now you're a tech, let's say you work in a place where it has a student, so now the student, you're kind of responsible for him, because when they take x-rays and you put it online, that's kind of like putting your work, adding it, like, okay, I did it with him. So you kind of have to be on top of that and make sure whatever they do is to, your standard, to, good level, because that can also come back at you too. As far as the computer stuff, I would say you have to know how to, the charting, which is like, what exam was it? Did you give contrast? You have to chart for contrast. You have to, like, for billing, like, I did so many x-rays, how to change orders, how to cancel orders, if there's trauma coming, how to adjust that, calling to verify procedures, or for instance, you have to call to, like, if you're on the floor and you're in the main x-ray or somewhere else, like, knowing how to contact, like, knowing how they can travel to come down to the department. You have emails and stuff. You have to be on top of, like, your CPR, your all those credentials stuff. You have to do also, clocking in, clocking out, lunch. I mean, meetings. Sometimes you'll have meetings with your boss that will come around. Your dosimeter, stuff like that. They'll go over stuff like that. You kind of have access to go into all the hospitals, all the departments, because you walk around, you have a little badge, you can scan in to go to anywhere. Troubleshooting, you have to know how to troubleshoot a bunch of things, or try to find another rad who's been there longer or knows how to go around stuff. Maintenance, you have to know how to warm up the tube, have stuff like that, or if the x-ray machine's not working properly, how to contact maintenance to come and do stuff to adjust. You have evaluations. You have company, like, how can we improve our x-ray department, or the goods and bads of the x-ray department. Helping out other departments, like, for instance, like transportations, or sometimes for, like, sliding and moving the patients. That's another big thing that will come in later on with your credentials. Making sure that when you put something online, it's actually scanned and read and not just on hold. If you have to edit some things, type in some notes. That's another thing that comes into my mind. And you kind of have to, like, develop more of a relationship with other departments, like the nurses and other stuff, compared to when you're just students, mainly just the x-ray department, Because sometimes you may need help with, like, if you're in the ER, like with certain patients, you might need help moving them. You might need help knowing, like, getting a pregnancy test done, or like other stuff. So it's always nice to have a better relationship with other departments. And also your doctor, you'll interact with like the rads or the other doctors from the department. That's another thing. Going on the floor more, even with COVID, you're at all the COVID stuff and like that. You'll be responsible doing, and I think that's mainly it. That's a good overview of kind of the transition. And yeah, my name's Miguel. See you in the next one.